would connect, and he might like doing that. So I met John at Wayside, and he said that he would be our guest speaker. And I remember he asked me, he's like, Andrew, I got one question. I'm like, yeah, what's that? He said, well, what happens if it rains? I was like, well, I don't know, John. This is only my second parade. I'm not sure really what happens. I'll ask them, though. And I remember asking Rotarians. They said, oh, it doesn't rain. I'm like, okay. Well, sure enough, since there was no contingency plan, it rained, and you guys know the storm and everything that happened last year. And so I can promise you, and as a Rotarian here, we will always have a Memorial Day service here in Champion. We will always have a contingency plan. And John has had 2 years to prepare the speech for you all. So please welcome our guest speaker, John Russell.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank Anthony Smith and the Champion Rotary for inviting me to speak to you on this solemn day of remembrance for those who died in service of the U.S. military. I'm deeply honored to be here in your presence today. PFC Justin R. Davis had a dream. He was passionate about joining the service. He would always say, "This is my dream, and I'm going to follow." He also loved participating in martial arts, among many other things. Davis joined the Army of June 2005 and was deployed to Afghanistan in February 2006. He was assigned to the 1st Battalion, 23rd Infantry Regiment on June 25, 2006. He came in contact with indirect fire while on patrol during combat operations and succumbed to his injuries. Davis never got to live out his hopes and dreams and aspirations. His family never got to be with him again. The Travis Manion Foundation honored Davis on October 12, 2011, when his story inspired 260 students at the Strawberry Mansion High School in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Davis was only 19 years old. Likewise, Jennifer Harris joined the United States Marine Corps and graduated from U.S. Naval Academy in 2000 and was commissioned as second lieutenant. She did 3 tours of duty in Iraq. Harris was assigned to the Marine Expeditionary Force. She earned her Wings of Gold in 2002 and became the first female pilot in the Purple Foxes Squadron. She also loved sailing and was a member of the Naval Academy's intercollegiate sailing team. She planned to pursue her love for sailing upon her discharge. On February 7, 2007, Lieutenant Jennifer Harris died in a helicopter crash in Al-Anbar province, Iraq. Lieutenant Harris never got to live out her hopes and dreams and aspirations, and her family never got to see her alive again. The Travis Manion Foundation honored Lieutenant Jennifer Harris and the Villa Maria Academy High School in Melbourne, Pennsylvania, wherein the students there dedicated nearly 2,000 hours of service in honor of Lieutenant Harris. These are but 2 memorials, a mere fraction of the 1,300,000 stories of men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice and never got to live out their hopes and dreams and aspirations. And most weren't individually honored for their service, as was Private Davis and Lieutenant Harris, perhaps those on Memorial Day. Memorial Day, initially referred to as Decoration Day, was observed by many communities after the Civil War, when the nation suffered more than 620,000 military deaths. That was roughly 2% of the total population at that time. John A. Logan, the Commander-in-Chief of the Grand Army of the Republic, chose May 30th, 1868 as the day to decorate the graves of the Union troops across the nation. From this beginning, Memorial Day is now designated as an annual day of remembrance to honor all those who have died in service to the United States during peace and war. And so today, we too gather to honor and remember those who served our country, those we could never thank with a handshake or an applause or like a parade which we had here today, because we never had the chance. They were people who fought and gave their lives for America and our allies as well. And in most cases, they never knew the outcome of their ultimate sacrifice. It didn't matter who they were, where they came from, how young or old they were, or what rank they had, or what MOS they were charged with. It was through the gallant sacrifices they all made that ensured our independence and freedom that we all enjoy today. Now, as we gather here today, in this cemetery in Champion, Ohio, many others gather at cemeteries and monuments and parks all over the country. They march in parades in cities, big and small. We do these things to remember and honor the loyalty and bravery of our fallen in this noble calling of military service. The history of our nation, those who served, can best be summed up in a short and simple yet fitting phrase. They are ordinary people who, by virtue of their service and sacrifice, are extraordinary. We're men like Captain Capon. You may have heard this story before, but it's worth repeating again. Capon grew up in a farm in Pelson, Kansas. His first calling was to God. God, he said, called him to the military service. So he joined the Army. Capon was sent to Korea in 1950 to provide comfort and counsel to the troops as a chaplain during the first months of the Korean War. The soldiers quickly realized he was such more than a chaplain. He was their soldier saint. And All Saints Day, his unit came under heavy attack by the Chinese forces. Capon had a chance to fall back to safety with a portion of his unit, but he chose to stay in the thick of battle to minister to the dying and the wounded. He would brave a barrage of bullets bounding from foxhole to foxhole to check on his men. Over and over, he risked his life to retrieve the wounded and the bodies of the fallen. When the wounded were beyond saving, he gave them spiritual comfort. Despite finally being captured, in the midst of being marched away by a Chinese soldier at gunpoint, Capon saw an enemy soldier with his weapon drawn, moments away from executing an American soldier. Capon defiantly left his captor, pushed the enemy soldier to the ground, and picked the soldier up from the ditch. The enemy troops were too stunned to react. Capon spent the remainder of his time in the war, interned in a prisoner of war camp in North Korea, where Capon died there in 1951. Capon, like so many others, never did get to live out his hopes and dreams and aspirations. He never got an opportunity to be with his family and friends again. He was presented the Medal of Honor by the President at the White House on April 12th of that year. Now, what's amazing about this story is Capon did not shoulder a rifle or wield a bayonet. He carried a Bible and holy water. These were the weapons he used in battle, and they were more effective than the bullets of a determined enemy. So then, what is the real true meaning of Memorial Day? You know, I suppose if you ask 100 people that question, you'd probably get 100 different answers. Studies have shown that only 25% of Americans know the true meaning of Memorial Day. And that is sad, especially among the younger generation. Lest we forget. Memorial Day is about remembering. In good times, it's easy to forget the price that was paid for our freedoms. But the meaning of Memorial Day is that almost 1.5 million men and women have died so that you and I may enjoy our freedoms. You know, we look to Thanksgiving as a day when we give thanks for the things we have, and rightfully so. Memorial Day is a day when we pause to give thanks to the people who fought and died for the things that we have. In Scripture, 2 Peter chapter 3, verses 1 and 2, Peter wrote to the churches back then saying, "This is now the second letter I am writing to you, in which I'm reminding you to remember that you should remember." We need to remember. We must remember. We must have our minds stirred. We must remember that freedom is not free. People died so that we could live. They gave up their hopes and dreams and aspirations so we could have ours. We must remember the brave soldiers like PFC Justin Davis, Lieutenant Jennifer Harris, in Captain's Pond, and all the rest of the soldiers, including the soldiers who are represented by this monument that stands before us here this day. And names will be given to you just a little later on. Spend some time thanking people in God for their bravery. People that have died in all the wars from an elite group that should never be forgotten. We must remember. We must tell our children that they may tell their children that they must not forget that freedom is not free. It's the most expensive gift that we enjoy. Our hopes and our dreams and aspirations are being lived out today because of the countless sacrifices made for us by men and women who have fallen. Sacrifices that assures our freedom. Sacrifices that assures our being one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless the United States of America, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for this honor.
Thank you, John. At this time, we are going to ask for Cadence Trish from Champion High School to come up, and she is going to sing America the Beautiful.